everyone and welcome back to the Ryan Retro channel. SteamOS has come to the Retroid Pocket 5. Question mark? So a little while ago on my channel, I showed Pocknix running Steam on Android devices. Then a few weeks ago, I showed an evolution of this, Armada OS, which is a streamlined version. It installs quickly, boots straight into SteamOS, and it's pretty impressive. Now in that video, I got a few comments asking me about the Retroid Pocket 5, and if we could run Armada OS on the Retroid Pocket 5. And while we cannot put Armada OS on this Retroid Pocket 5, we can put something very similar. And I now have it set up right here. It's just like Armada OS, it's just like SteamOS, and this is called Pocknix, a Retroid Pocket variant of Pocknix. It installs very quickly, just like Armada OS. You simply need to go to the GitHub page, which I'll link in the description, download the .zst file. These can be a little bit tricky to extract, so I used my terminal here to extract it with this command on screen. Once you finish extracting it, you're going to use something like Balena Etcher or Rufus to burn it to an SD card. Pop that SD card into your Retroid Pocket 5. Restart your Retroid Pocket 5 by holding the power and volume down buttons simultaneously for a few seconds. And then on the Retroid Pocket 5, you should be pretty much good to go. Just press the power button to boot and it will launch you straight into your new SteamOS operating system. Once it's all booted up, you'll do the usual thing. You'll sign in by scanning the QR code with your phone, and then you'll be in SteamOS. You'll be able to install your favorite games and play them. So let's try a couple now and see how things are going. This is the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Let's jump into the game. As you'll see, it's just like a Steam Deck or Steam machine where you see the connected controller. Here it seems to think that we're running something like a Lenovo Legion Go S by the look of it. You'll be shown this controller screen and it will say starting launch for maybe a few minutes depending on how demanding the game is. So just sit back, relax, hit the like and subscribe buttons to Ryan Retro, and soon enough you'll be playing your game. So here we are in the game of Skyrim. I have all of the statistics at the top left of the screen. You can see we're running between 20 and 30 frames per second. If you notice the green graph that's moving from left to right, you'll see it's kind of all over the place, very inconsistent. That's something I have noticed when running off of SD cards like this. This whole operating system and the game, they're all running off of my SD card, and I do find it to be less stable than running from internal storage. Now you can install this to the internal storage if you want and wipe Android, but please don't do that. It's not worth it, at least in the current state. But if you want to play around with it from the SD card, it's quite fun. Hello Lilith. Goodbye Lilith. You're lucky I'm terrible at aiming. So if we zoom in a little bit closer to that frame graph, you'll see that yeah, the frame rate sometimes jumps up to around 40 or so, but it's mostly in around the mid-20s. I don't exactly remember the performance of this on Android with Game Native or Game Hub. I would assume it's somewhere similar. I do know that if you play the Switch version of this game, you can get a 30 frame per second pretty steady. But this is my Steam cloud save, one of my many Skyrim cloud saves. And as you can see, it's working fine. If I turn up the volume, you can hear the volume is also fine as well. No stuttering, no weird sounds. Let's ask this man if he's an alcoholic.
Only if I can help it, but damn if I ain't almost sober.
Do I want to encourage this man's alcoholism? Yes. Performance here is pretty encouraging. It looks beautiful on the lovely screen we have on the Retroid Pocket 5. The frame rate is certainly not too bad. It's an encouraging sign. If I were to install this to the internal drive and maybe play around with the settings a little bit more, I'm sure we could at least get a solid 30 with some more tweaking. This is pretty nice. But again, we can also get decent performance these days with things like Game Native. So let's jump into some other games and see how some other games do. We'll try some light games and some heavy games. This is Evoland, and this is an example of a game that's going to run flawlessly. You can see here we have 60 frames per second, and that line is going to be absolutely perfect. Any little blips that you see in the line, I can guarantee you are because we're running this whole thing off of the SD card. If we were running this whole thing from internal storage, it would be flawless because this is a super easy game to play. This game's really cool because it takes you through the different mechanics of gaming. You may have just seen I unlocked inventory. As you go through the beginning of the game, like we are now, you unlock not only things like inventory, but you unlock things like better colors of the screen and more movement. Just before filming today, I unlocked the use of the left analog stick. Before I was only able to use the D-pad and move in the cardinal directions, north, east, south, west. And I got a little pickup that unlocked the analog stick and the ability to move in any direction. Just like on a Steam Deck or any other Steam machine, you can use the side buttons as well. So by touching the left side button over here, you get into the Steam in-game menu where you can do things like go through your controller settings and change what the controls do. You can customize every single control exactly as you like it, the behavior, the mapping, it's all here, which is lovely. I haven't found a need to do that yet because it automatically sets things up really well. That's one of the great things about Steam. We can look at our Steam achievements, and I believe we can get achievements through this because it is all online and syncing, but don't quote me on that for definite. You can access your friends and talk to your friends if you have any, unlike me. All the things you'd expect from Steam are all here. Then on the other side menu, again, we have the reminder that I have no friends. We can look at our notifications. We can do all the things we'd usually do on Steam first. So like changing the brightness with a nice little slider, much nicer than the one on Android, I believe. Adjust your audio nice and easily too. As you can see, it's really responsive. In the past, we've used things like this in things like the early builds of Game Hub that tried to replicate big picture mode in Steam, and they were so laggy. This is super smooth. It feels like it's native to the console, which is fantastic. We have all of our simple Bluetooth and Wi-Fi options. Probably the most interesting ones are here, where you go into the performance overlay menu. That's what shows the lovely overlay with things like FPS. So if we go to level 1, we simply have a tiny little FPS counter at the top left of the screen there. If we go to level 2, we have a bar across the top, which you've probably seen in tons of videos at this point. So that shows things like your FPS, the frame graph, CPU and GPU usage, all that good stuff. If we go into the next option, that's the one that I'm using for this video. It's basically the same thing, but just laid out in a little square instead of across the top of the screen. And then finally, we have level 4, which is the big boy. This one is just too much information for me. I don't even know what's even happening here, but if you understand these things well, it could be useful. So you know what, I'll leave it on for the rest of the video. So if people who are much smarter than me are watching, maybe you can get some good information from this and maybe let me know. So that's the performance overlay. We also have performance settings, things like limiting the frames to 60 frames per second, because this panel can only show 60 frames anyway, so getting 400 frames per second is pointless. I like to try to disable this. For this game and other games, I probably need to go into their settings and turn off things like VSync as well, which I'm too lazy to do right now, just so I could show the highest frame rate we could get, but that's not really the scope of this video. This video is just kind of showing how this overall operating system is. It's not really like a big performance benchmark. But you can go through and change filters and scaling modes and all that kind of stuff if you want to. Being a SteamOS thing, we also have the ability to add soundtracks. So maybe I can grab a soundtrack from Cyberpunk, and here we'd be able to download them and play them. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to play them during the video, so I'm going to skip that for now. Then we also have Decky plugins, and it comes with this one, Pocknix Control. Because this is Pocknix, we have a special Pocknix Control plugin, and in here is where you can go through and add settings for each game, which kind of effects preset you want to use, and it's very simple, just fast or compatible. So I keep this on default. Maybe if a game wasn't loading, it might be worth changing the preset to compatible to give you a better chance. And then we have the audio buffer. Once again, I don't have any problems with the audio. If you did have audio problems, you could set a 60, 90 or 120 millisecond buffer to try and fix those. But so far for me, it's been great. We can also add non-Steam games here. If you have non-Steam games on your SD card, you can add them in. I don't right now. Next up, we have the lightning bolt symbol, which is performance. You have fan curve and CPU scheduler. By default, they were set onto quiet. I just threw them both onto performance because I want to see what this baby can do. So if you want your fan to be nice and quiet, set it to quiet. I want mine to just perform the best, and the Retroid Pocket 5 has a pretty nice quiet fan anyway. It's not monstrous like the Odin 3, so I set it to performance. Next up, you have your drive control. This is where you can format your SD card if you need to. Mine's fine already. I imagine this is for if you install Pocknix to the internal drive and then you want to mess around with the external card. I'm running this whole thing from the external SD card. So if I format it, the whole thing's going to go bye-bye. So I'm not going to do that. And lastly, you have system updates. You can check for updates here. If there are any Pocknix updates, you'll be able to update it nice and easily from here. So let's jump into some more demanding games now. This one obviously works well because this one would run on anything. So just like on the real Steam Deck, let's hit the button over here and let's hit exit game, confirm. Next up we have Just Cause 3, a game I've really been enjoying on my Retroid Pocket 6 lately. It's a little bit too demanding for the Retroid Pocket 5 here. I was hoping we might get some kind of miracle with this SteamOS operating system, but as you can see, we are lagging pretty badly. We're running at around about 15 FPS, not great. It does look good, but yeah, if you look at those graphs over there, it looks like something from a horror film. It looks like the frames per second are leaking ooze. It reminds me of that show Get Your Own Back, where kids used to gunge their parents. It's a bit tricky to play, certainly not running great. So we will need to temper our expectations here about what we can do on Just Cause, but we can at least do fun things like bring people up here. Whee! But we can still admire the beautiful scenery, just at a very low frame rate. The funny thing is, as I'm filming this, I can feel my voice even getting into slow motion. I'm naturally slowing my voice down to try to match the pacing of the game. And because it's running about half speed, I feel myself speaking in slow motion. Let's just get in this lovely car. And then let's try out another game. One kind of issue with this is I'm trying to quit the game now and I have to just wait for the menu to open. It's not like on Android where you can simply just swipe up from the bottom of the screen and swipe away an app and then you're out. Because this is Steam, I have to hit the menu button and then wait for the Steam menu to come up. But when we're really lagging out like this, it can be very slow. I will just wait and enjoy a Korean vanilla latte. Oh, there we go. Come on. As you can see, the experience is not the best. The vanilla latte, on the other hand, excellent. So with Just Cause not really working well, I know what we should try next. We should go for something a little bit more simple. Something like Cyberpunk. I just tried to launch Cyberpunk a few times and it won't open. So I'm going to now give you a big tip if you can't open games on Pocknix or any of these things like Armada OS or any of these SteamOS style operating systems. What you're going to want to do is come to the top of the screen and search in the search bar. And here is where you can search for games, but we're actually not going to search for games. We're going to search for Proton. Here you will see all the different versions of Proton you can download, which will help you run your games. And the one that we want on all of your Retroid and AYN devices at the time of filming is Proton 11 ARM64. When you search for this, it very likely won't be installed by default. So you're going to want to hit the install button. I already installed it, so you can see I have an uninstall button. If you see install, that means you don't have it and you should install it. It might take about 5 or 10 minutes, and this is the one you're going to want to use for your games. So let's come back to Cyberpunk, come over to the cogwheel over here, the settings, properties, go down 1 to compatibility, come over to this box, force the use of a specific Steam Play compatibility tool. Once you check the box, you'll get this little drop down menu and you can choose from all your different versions of Proton you have. And we want to choose the one that's simply titled Proton 11.0 ARM64. Choose that and you have the best chance of your game running. Now, it's not guaranteed, it's not 100% going to run this game or any other game, but in all of my testing, that has been by far the most likely to run a game. So if you're having problems running a game, try Proton 11.0 ARM64. While it wasn't guaranteed, thankfully for my integrity, it has actually worked and fixed Cyberpunk not loading. We're now at least in the launcher. Let me just temporarily turn off this performance overlay so I can see what's happening. And I can press the play button to jump into Cyberpunk 2077 through a SteamOS-like operating system on the Retroid Pocket 5. What an age we are living in. And it crashed. Thank you for watching. So maybe something like Cyberpunk is still a little bit too tricky for something like the Retroid Pocket 5, which, I mean, we expected that. It tried its best. Good try. This is more for the lightweight games. Lightweight games like Stardew Valley will of course run perfectly fine. Everything will be smooth, everything will be fluid. I do still notice the odd hiccup here and there, which I again put down to running this whole thing off the SD card, but you should mostly be pretty fine with something lightweight like Stardew Valley. But of course we can easily run Stardew Valley on Android. There's no need to install a Steam operating system for something so simple. And we even have an Android port of Stardew Valley right in the Play Store. So if you're going to play lightweight games, you can play them here with all the things you'd expect from a Steam Deck, all of the menus you'd expect to see, and the easy way to turn things on and off and customize things and maybe even chat to your friends on Steam. But is it really worth putting this on a Retroid Pocket 5 when you can basically do all of this on Android and more? In my opinion, no. Let's also just quickly talk about other things as well. Let's talk about retro games, because Pocknix does support retro games out of the box, or so they claim on their GitHub page. So I'm going to turn the screen off, put it to sleep, and take out the SD card, which hopefully won't cause any problems. Maybe if you do this, you should turn it off first. I'm going to pop the SD card into my Mac, and you'd assume you can just grab your ROM and drag it straight onto the SD card. But the problem is, I don't see the folder to drop it into. I'm only seeing a couple of folders here. This is quite a common problem on Mac. Sometimes you need to use Windows to see all the folders, which is why I've got lots of Windows content planned coming soon. Wait for that. So in my situation here, unable to get this game onto the SD card, except for in things like the boot folder, which is not where it should be. So in my situation, all I can do is just drop it somewhere here and hope it gets seen, or put it on some kind of USB drive, like I have my Zyke drive here, or I could use a general USB stick of some kind, maybe even my SSD from my previous video, pop that in the USB port and go through the file manager. It's a bit of a faff. That's a British way of saying a hassle. So let's pop the SD card back inside and see if we're able to access that root directory. Thankfully, it survived the hot swap. So in order to get to a file manager, we're probably going to want to come out of this and go to the desktop mode. This is a good chance for me to show you. Yes, it does have a desktop mode, just like the Steam Deck. It has a full Linux desktop mode here. So here we are in the desktop mode. We're able to slide up, and now it's kind of more like an Android experience, to be honest. This is like an Android app drawer, but we're in what I think is Arch Linux. We're able to access the games that we've installed through here. We have, of course, things like the console to write terminal commands, all the things you'd expect to get. You can go into emulators like Dolphin and RPCS3. It comes with a really nice selection of things. We have, of course, things like a calculator if you want to do some calculations on here. This one, like I mentioned earlier about Android, this actually does let you swipe up from the bottom. And it's just like an Android experience where you can then close things, minimize them, etc. It's, to be honest, a little bit more useful than SteamOS, at least in my opinion. So we can come into Dolphin here. Dolphin is the file browser. Now I've noticed that this is extremely finicky. When you try to touch the top left icon up here, if you actually touch it, nothing happens. You need to touch kind of near it for it to function. It's not great. Maybe I can show more clearly with my stylus here. If I perfectly touch the icon, it doesn't really work. I have to touch kind of a little bit down and a little bit right. So let's go to removable devices. Pocknix root or Rocknix? No idea. Let's just try to find that file I put on there. It's not there, so let's try the other one. And here are the same files and folders that we saw on the Mac. We saw boot, EFI, kernel, kernel.md5, and Pocknix diag.txt. So this is where I dragged my Game Boy file, and as you can see, it's not there. So I'm instead going to connect this USB stick here, which has some of my games on it. Let's just pop that in the bottom. Excuse me. Don't clip that out of context, please. Now let's come back to removable devices, and it can't see it. Excellent. Let's maybe close Dolphin and open it again. Come on. Removable devices, devices. I don't seem to be able to see this USB stick. Now I did test this a few days ago when I was preparing this video to show you guys, and I could see it eventually. It did work. I did manage to copy over the files, but spoiler, none of the games would launch. I like what they've done with this because if you copy the files over to the device, they have set up ESDE for you. So once you're in gaming mode and you open your game, it launches into ESDE, which, you know, is a nice front end. And now apparently not supporting controller. Anyway, it's a bit of a mess. It needs more work. I was going to show you that when we put the games inside, they don't launch. But now we've got one step even worse than that. I can't even get the games in, and I now can't control anything. So yeah, my final thoughts, Pocknix, should you use it? No, but I do like what they're doing, and I hope they continue because this could be really cool in the future. And I like that they're giving us something for the Retroid Pocket 5, which if you've watched my channel for a while, you know I adore this device. It's the one that kicked off my whole channel. I love this guy. So hopefully Mr. and Mrs. Pocknix, please keep going. I support you. Please carry on. So is it perfect? Absolutely not. But is it worth trying if you have a spare SD card lying around? I think, yeah. I think give it a go. Do not wipe Android off of your Retroid Pocket 5. That would be a huge mistake. But definitely give it a go. I love what they're doing at Pocknix. Good job. And if you want to breathe some new life into your Retroid Pocket 5 and try something new, give it a try. Otherwise, just stick with Game Native or Game Hub. I think honestly those are better for now. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much to my lovely patrons who support me every month and make this possible. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you once again for watching, and I'm sure it won't be long before we're saying hello again.